Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome to this video. It's good to see you again. um, so today I would love to talk about a topic that is, in my opinion, very, very important when it comes to not just your personal growth, and healing journey, but also it is a lot more impactful and important to our collective healing, and moving forward as a collective, and making actually like this world a better place. And this topic in general is what I feel like is not given credit enough. And it often is connected with a whole lot of emotions, not all positive emotions. But yeah, that's it with, that's what it is with healing journeys, right? It's not always pleasant, but it's very rewarding. So what I'm speaking about is ancestral work. And in my last video, I talked about the topic of honoring cycles and our own cyclical nature, that our progress, our growth journeys, but actually progress in general is a spiralic progress, a spiralic process. Did I just say that? And that, yeah, in order for us to being able to really come to peace with what our healing journeys, our growth processes, and actually like the way we move through life, in order to come to peace with it and actually like really feel and understand it on a deeper level, we need to understand that those kind of things are actually moving in cycles, and preferably moving in spiralic motions, because the problem with cycles is that sometimes we can get trapped in cycles and just moving in a circle, basically, and keep doing what we're doing. But what we want is actually to combine a linear movement with a cyclical movement, so that we get this spiralic motion, and there's actually progress happening. There's actually some kind of growth happening, some kind of evolvement happening. But when we keep repeating the same cycles over and over and over again, that can actually keep us trapped. And we can stay stagnant instead of actually evolving and moving on. So a huge part of not staying stuck in cycles is breaking old patterns, breaking cycles that keep us stuck in those circular movements, and that make us repeat old patterns over and over and over again. And yeah, well, so the thing with breaking cycles is that this is not a one and done process. Breaking cycles can be a very, very long process. Again, it's this coming back to the same topics over and over and over again. And you probably all have experienced this feeling of some kind of topic or pattern is coming around, and you're thinking, what, that again? I thought I've dealt with it. And And the reason for that is because often those things are not, like, they're going deeper than what it looks like at first glance. For example, if you keep falling into the same relationship patterns over and over again, and then you work on, okay, what does it mean to have a healthy relationship? What are red flags in a partner? What are green flags in a partner? What are my own patterns that I have? What are my like the ways I connect with people? And you start working with that, and you become more conscious, and you start healing. And so in this area of your life, you are evolving. But then maybe you suddenly realize that in a different part of your life, let's say in your career, problems are coming to the surface where you're realizing that there's a similar pattern at play or a similar energy beneath it. And you're like, what? I thought I dealt with that. And now it's popping up in this area of my life. The reason for that is that the energy beneath it is actually going back to something that is a lot deeper than what it looks at first glance. It's not just, so the way it's showing up in our life, like in our connections and relationships, or in the way we are dealing with our career and workspace problems, topics, or in our everyday life, and how we, I don't know, if we want to be more active, we want to exercise more, or we want to make dietary changes, or we want to be more sociable, or whatever it is, you name it. We will realize that we will run into similar problems in every little detail in our lives, because all of those are only symptoms. They are the expression, symptoms of a deeper root cause. And those are usually related to our ancestry and what we are connected into on a collective level. And this has different layers, and I will get into that in a bit. But yeah, it's the question, like, what did we come into this life with? What are the patterns, the roots, the baggage that we came in with and that we have to deal with in this life, and that we actually are asked to look at and work through and resolve, and in many cases let go, or embrace and integrate and value, because there's not just bad things that we get from our ancestry, there are also a lot of good things. So this is why it's so important to actually do ancestral work and to look at what kind of patterns, what kind of deeper what are the building blocks that we came in with in this life? And so there are different ways we can look at this, and there are different kinds of building blocks that we came in with, and they are all somehow related to our ancestry. For one, there is, and that's maybe the easiest level to see, and like the one that is closest to the surface, is what kind of people were my family. So what direct impact did they have on my life? What was their way of thinking? What was the religion? What kind of relationship dynamics were present in my family? What was I taught when I came in here? Just by watching my family members, interacting with them, and being part of this collective that my family was. If you were not born and raised in your blood line, like your direct birth family or blood relationships, you can still apply this because, of course, you were influenced by the family or the surroundings that you were raised in. Even if it wasn't a family per se, it was a different kind of care situation. But like whatever the context was you were born and raised in is influencing you, and you can actually look at it like your ancestry. Then, of course, there's the next level of genetics. What kind of building blocks on a physical and genetic level you came in with. And this is not just things like diseases or your physiognomy, no, like your physical appearance. But of course, nowadays we also know that epigenetic, for example, plays a huge role. So what are the things that were handed down from our ancestors to us through genes, but that are not written in the gene strings, but they are placed on top of it. And those things are, for example, trauma. This is what most people talk about when they're talking about epigenetics, is how can trauma be inherited through our genes, basically. Even people who are not born and raised in their blood family, they can still carry those memories and traumas inside their bodies. Also, this can go back several generations. So if your grandparents or great-grandparents experienced something traumatic in their lives, then it is very possible that you carry those informations in your own body, and you might have effects, like you might experience the effects that this can have on you. So that's a bit, it can feel daunting or tricky, because you might think, well, great. So there is some great aunt that was, I don't know, that experienced something traumatic in her life that probably nobody even knows about. And you're telling me now this is still affecting me in my own life. So great, how am I going to deal with that? And we'll get to that, but the good news is you don't need to know what it was. You don't need to know the details, the specifics. You can still work with it. It's more just like me giving you information and understanding that it is possible that you are carrying things from your ancestry that you're not aware of, and that is not even something that you experienced firsthand in your own life, but you can actually carry memories and, like I said, trauma that can have an effect on you but that is not something that you directly experienced. And over the last few years, there has been a whole lot of research done on those topics. So if you're interested in it, you can look for like really scientific research on epigenetics, and it's basically giving confirmation to things that many therapists and researchers from especially trauma related professions, like people who work with trauma and trauma therapy, they've known this for a long time. And now we do have the scientific proof that this is actually really a thing. So yeah, this is a huge part of what I like to call ancestral work or ancestral healing. And then there's also the energetic layer that I like to work with a lot, and that is more my field of expertise. Although I do have also experiences and I've worked with the other layers as well. But I can tell that those more energetic layers they are intertwined with the others, but it opens up a few more, maybe even possibilities to work with your ancestry, and to maybe even go into realms where otherwise it would be hard to get access through if you only focus on the material world and what you know about your ancestors, and what maybe is still there in terms of like physical proof or material things. And if you work with the energetics and the more energetic layers of your ancestry, you can get access to knowledge that is not necessarily still there in the physical world. And yeah, so this just opens up a few more layers, and you can go deeper with your work if you want to. And the further you progress on your journey, the more this will be important as well. So yeah, and this actually also plays, so what I think is important to understand when it comes to ancestral work, and it is also something that is often overlooked in my opinion, is that when I speak about ancestral work, yes, it is related to your direct ancestor, like your closer family and your direct ancestors in the sense of a bloodline. But there's also the aspect and the layer of the ancestors that we all share. Because in the end, humans all come from the same people. Like every human walking this earth has some kind of shared ancestry. This is something that we like to forget, because yes, of course, this is going back far back, many hundreds of thousands of years. But nonetheless, we are all interconnected, and going back to a few women and men that brought the first humans into this world. And there are also theories about that. It's, of course, very much theoretical, although they do have more research now and more scientific truth as well, also via genetics, genetic research. That, and I don't remember, there was a study I read about that said that basically all humans can be traced back to like 13 women. I'm not sure how valid this study is, or this theory is. I do remember that I read up on it a bit, and I thought it was fascinating. And it makes sense, right? It makes sense that, I mean, it had to start somewhere. But if you think of that, it means that we actually all are like massively extended, but we are an extended family. So we all do share an ancestry. When I'm speaking about ancestral work, it also means that we are not just healing ourselves and our own families, but it's also meaning that we are healing a bigger collective. And this is, in my opinion, and what I receive and what I see in this world, and with all the change and the growth that is happening at the moment, and everyone is talking about like the big ascension processes and all the change that is happening. And so what I get and what I see is that ancestral work and healing our ancestry is a huge integral part of that whole movement. And it is helping with that progress. It is helping with those bigger awakenings of consciousness and collective ascensions that are happening. Because I always like to say an awakening is never happening without healing. And healing always means looking at where are the pain points, where's the trauma, where were those initial circumstances that created the wound in the first place. And very often that means we have to go way back in our own lives. And like I said, for like all the reasons that I said before and that I talked about, also in our ancestry. So there is no ascension and no awakening of consciousness without the necessary healing work done. And many problems, all the problems that we see in our world today, are expressions of pain and are expressions of woundings that are playing out on a collective level. And so you can look at like the collective expressions of that, pretty much like you can look at your own expressions of your pain and trauma and all the healing work you're doing in order to overcome those things and to release those things, those cycles in your own life. And you can upscale it. You can look at it the same way that you're looking at your own life. You can look at your family. That's the next step. You can look at your bigger ancestry, like not just your direct family, but like the extended ancestry where you're coming from, maybe the region where you're coming from. And you can just like make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point you can look at the whole of humanity and you can see, wow, okay, so we are all one species on this planet. We have one shared ancestry. And so we actually also have shared healing work to do. And so I think this is a very empowering thing to understand that by doing your own healing work, you're having an effect on the all of everything. You're having an effect on the collective. You're actually having an effect on humanity itself. Even if it doesn't look like it, or it doesn't feel like it, or it's hard to imagine it, it is happening. And with every little trigger that you work through, with every little wound that you release, with every little pattern you let go of, or every cycle that is present in your life, in your family, in your ancestry, that you feel like is keeping you in a pattern that is not wanted, that is not beneficial. With every time you break something like that, you are helping a bigger collective, and you're helping humanity at large. And so this is why, in my opinion, this is a very, very important part of the overall ascension process that is happening right now. Speaking about those collective ancestral healing work that is happening, when we look at larger societies and we look at what are overall topics that are present right now, you can look at it in like politics and popular culture, in certain belief systems, zeitgeist that is present, you will find patterns and expressions of a common underlying energy of that society, and it will tell you something about the woundings and about the again, like the patterns that are present for this bigger collective and the society that is present there. And you will know what this collective has to work on, and you will know what the underlying topics in that you have to heal, actually. So, and of course, this can also tell you something about your own healing that you have to be doing, or you can see how your own healing journey is actually interacting with those larger topics, societal movements and issues that are there at the moment. So again, if you're healing in your own life, if you're doing this for yourself, it will have an effect on the collective, because you are interconnected with the collective. You're never existing simply for yourself. And this is actually one of the biggest detrimental lies and beliefs that we are buying into, that we are a singular entity left to our own devices, and that what we are doing is having no effect on the bigger collective. This is separation consciousness. So part of moving into unity consciousness, what basically is what an awakening is all about. It is understanding that you are not a separate entity, but that you are part of source, that you are part of a bigger entity, a bigger presence, a bigger being. Understanding that you are part of this bigger thing is what the awakening process is actually about. And understanding that you are part of a bigger collective, which is your ancestry, is a direct reflection of this coming from separation consciousness into unity consciousness. So yeah, this is why it is very, very important to do ancestral work, and why you cannot separate this work, this healing work, from actually helping humanity at large in ascending and awakening, and the overall healing process that has to take place in order for this to occur. Yeah, I think that is all what I want to say for now about this topic. I did get on my other channel, link is in the description below, I'm doing readings there and channelings. I got a message there also about ancestor related things, and I did channel a meditation for that. It's not like I haven't recorded it yet, and like it's still in the making, but I will post it probably on this channel. And yeah, it probably will help you with this topic. It is something that will help you connect in with your ancestry, and to start this work, or to take this work on a deeper level wherever you are in your own process. So as soon as this is ready and finished and ready to release, you will find it, I guess, on this channel. I will put a link in the description below as well, so that you can find it when it's ready. Yeah, so that's it for today with this message. I would love to hear from you, as always, your thoughts, your insights, questions, whatever. And yes, as always, also a thumbs up or a subscription if you like this content, and if you like to see more of it, helps me. And I wish you all the best with it. And thanks for being here, contributing your time and energy. I love you all so much. Looking forward to meeting you in the next video. And until then, take care, my loves. Bye.